Hello, my friends, and welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. Thank you very much for joining us as we are now just about 24 hours away from the kickoff of the 2024-25 NFL season. I'm, of course, your host, David On Point Huffman. On today's episode of The Prime, we're going to be breaking down our Week 1 fantasy football rankings. So please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast as we give you guys consistent content all season long. And my cat is making all the mess over there. I don't know what she's doing, but I'm sure she's getting into the mischief. Of course, I'm David Huffman. I'm very, very excited about the start of the NFL season. Let me know like if you are excited about the NFL season as well. My boy who's usually on this show, Mr. Israel Rivera, can't make it on the show. He's traveling currently. So I'm going to read off both of our rankings. So let's get right into it without wasting any time. Let's start with the rock throwers. Let's talk about the quarterback position, and let's talk about me first, and then we'll swing over to Izzy on the other side. Actually, I'll just leave Izzy's rankings up there. You can see them. You know what they are. I'm not necessarily going to go through every single one of them because I don't think that's interesting content. Let's talk about me. First of all, Josh Allen. Yeah, Josh Allen going up against the Arizona Cardinals. If you watched my show yesterday, you know that I made Buffalo one of my locks of the week, along with the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow, who's also in my top 10. But yeah, I expect Josh Allen to have a monster season. Like, I think he's going to be a plug-and-play starter every single week. I'm not concerned about the wide receiving core. I'm not concerned about the tight end situation. I'm not concerned about the offensive line. Josh Allen will be money every week. I guarantee it. 2, Jalen Hurts going up against Green Bay. I think that's going to be a good game. I think it was a high-scoring game there in Brazil. 3, C.J. Stroud going up against the Indianapolis Colts. 4, Joe Burrow going up against the New England Patriots. That defense is okay for New England, but, no Matthew Judon. We'll see how the secondary can hold up, given that they're probably going to be on the field a lot, given that offense on the other side. Number 5, Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Another game I expect to be fairly high scoring. And then I got Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes at 7 and 6, respectively. I kind of think that that's going to be a bit of a defensive struggle, a little bit of a low scoring game on opening night. As players and teams and players who haven't played much together are going to try to feel each other out. Number 8, Jordan Love going back to Brazil. I love Jordan Love this season. I have him in many, many fantasy teams, including a draft I did last night. Where I actually drafted the team while I was playing full court basketball. So I wouldn't recommend it, by the way. I missed my first 2 picks. But yeah, Jordan Love should have a monster season. In Philadelphia, that secondary, it's still got to be a work in progress. Give me Jordan Love to have a monster game. Number 9, Trevor Lawrence looking to bounce back from a very rough end of the season. But Miami, their defense is a lot of pieces still on IR there. We'll see if Trevor Lawrence and his new weapon of the kid, Brian Thomas Jr., the kid from LSU, we'll see what that offense looks like now with Trevor Lawrence in year 3 under Doug Peterson. And then 10, Jared Goff going up against the Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, I think Jared Goff should have a good game along with Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god. So yeah, that's the guy you're going to be looking for in my top 10. My outside looking in, I got Anthony Richardson also going up in that Houston, Texas game. He's been healthy and good for the Indianapolis Colts, so that very small sample size we saw last season, he was fantastic. But we'll see what he looks like after a full season. People have some tape on him now. I do like the weapons that he's got a lot there. Josh Downs, Adonai Mitchell, Michael Pittman Jr. I like Kyle Granson as a tight end. I like Mo Alley Cox as his tight end as well. He's got another one. His name is escaping me. 2, Kyler Murray also going up against the Buffalo Bills. I think that Buffalo Bills defense can be had this season. So I look for Kyler Murray to have a pretty good game against a game he's probably not going to win, but he should have a good game there. And then Caleb Williams, number 13, going against the Tennessee Titans team. I know they spent a lot of money in free agency, but Caleb Williams seems like the real deal. So I believe in his talent. I think he's going to be awesome, especially in week 1 for the Chicago Bears. And then my sneaky and daily, I got DraftKings. I got Sam Darnold at 5,200. Minnesota Vikings, all the weapons in the world. If there's an opportunity for Sam Darnold to be a successful player in the National Football League, it's going to be this situation in Minnesota and going up against the New York Football Giants. As I talked about yesterday on the show, I just don't think the Giants are all that good. It kind of upset Christian a little bit, but the Giants stink. Let's just call a spade a spade. They're not good. And if you play on FanDuel, Izzy's got a prediction for you. A guy over there for Gardner Minshew going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. He's at 6,800 on FanDuel. So, yeah, that's another option there if you're looking for some stuff in fantasy and you don't know who to start. Hold on, sorry. Okay, hello. All right, good. So yeah, moving on from there, let's talk about the Rock Toters. Number one, I got Saquon Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles. For years, the best way to beat the Green Bay Packers was on the ground. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are gonna roll out their new toy in a big, big way. I got Saquon Barkley at number one on my fantasy football rankings for week number 1. 2, Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, I think the Houston Texans defense on the running game inside of it, I think they can still be had. I mean, Derrick Henry basically used to eat them up alive in the running game. So Jonathan Taylor should have a good game there. Chris McCaffrey at number 3. I just kind of think that Jets 49ers game is going to be a low-scoring affair, especially since the Jets defense is super good. 4, Bijan Robinson going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look for him to this be the first game of his kind of coming out party this season. And then Breece Hall at number 5. He's going to be super involved in the passing game. I just think the volume is going to be there for Breece Hall this season, especially in week 1, as they're I think they're going to try to ease Aaron Rodgers back into the lineup. Number 6, King Henry. And my Saquon Barkley argument is kind of the same here for Derrick Henry. Only the defense there for the Kansas City Chiefs is a little bit better than the one for the Green Bay Packers. But Derrick Henry should have a lot of touches. He should be the priority back. Not worried about Justice Hill. Not worried about any of those other guys in that backfield. 7, Joe Mixon. If you know anything about this podcast and what we kind of talked about here on these shows, I'm very high on Joe Mixon. I think he's going to have a monster season as a member of the Houston Texans. I think this is going to be one of those seasons where he's going to prove, hey, I'm still Joe Mixon. Don't rule me out. Kyren Williams at number 8 going up against the Detroit Lions. I think they can still be had in the running game. I think their secondary is terrible too. But that could be a very high-scoring game between the Rams and the Detroit Lions. Number 9, Kenneth Walker III. Seattle going up against Denver, which has been a pretty solid defense in years past. But I just think the volume is going to be there for Kenneth Walker. I don't worry. I'm not worried about Derek Chardonnay or whatever his first name is escaping me, but I'm not worried about Zach Chardonnay. I think Kenneth Walker is going to be the main feature back there. And then Jahmyr Gibbs at number 10, as I mentioned, for Kyren Williams. I kind of expect that to be a high-scoring game there between the Los Angeles Rams and the Detroit Lions. On my outside looking in, I got Travis Etienne Jr. of the Jacksonville Jaguars as he goes up against the Houston Texans. I think that's going to be I think it might be a high-scoring game. So Travis Etienne should get back into form after which was kind of a down season last season, at least in fantasy. Number 2, James Cook for the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, I expect them to run the ball a lot against a really bad Arizona Cardinals defense. And then number 3, I got Josh Jacobs, Green Bay Packers. I think they're going to want to roll out there Noah Toy as well. I looked for him to have his first ever receiving touchdown in this game against the Philadelphia Eagles. You can take that to the bank. And then my sneaky and daily, I got some sneaky ones there. I got Chase Brown at 5,000 for the Cincinnati Bengals. And then J.K. Dobbins is a kind of a low-key sleeper for the Los Angeles Chargers at 4,900. I will be very interested to see what the workload is for both of these two guys, given oh, man, that guy's name is Coley. Went out the window on me. The running back for the Cincinnati Bengals, who is technically their starter right now. Hold on. I'm sorry. I do not remember his name. His name is escaping me now all of a sudden. I have him on a bunch of fantasy teams. That's terrible. Sorry. I wish I had a little commercial break. Zach Moss. I will be very interested to see what the workload is between Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Chase Brown was really an effective running back towards the latter part of last season. I will be interested to see what the carry share is there between those two guys. And then in the Chargers, the same deal. I mean, Gus Edwards, Gus the Bus, who was a touchdown machine last year, and J.K. Dobbins, who was also in Baltimore, but is dealt with injuries the last 2 seasons, where he basically didn't make it out of training camp the last couple of years. So I think it'll be interesting to see what the workload is for both of those running backs that are in my sneaky and daily. On the other side, I got Chuba Hubbard at 5,600. Should be the starter in Carolina, as long as Miles Sanders is kind of non-factor. And they did draft somebody, but his name is escaping me, and I don't think he's going to play in this game anyways. So he's going to be a non-factor, at least for week 1. He is somebody I would like as a sleeper though. Was it Jonathan Brooks? I think Jonathan Brooks is somebody. If I'm doing like a season long fantasy, I think Jonathan Brooks is somebody I want. I think he's going to have some pretty good value there. In my wide receiver rankings, I got number 1. I got the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I expect that Lions-Rams game to be extremely high scoring. I just don't think the secondary for the Rams is all that good anyways. 2, Tyreek Hill going up against a bad Jacksonville Jaguars secondary. 3, Justin Jefferson as he goes up against against the New York Giants, who could be on the football field a lot in this game as their offense is going to be pretty we'll see what happens with their offense. 4, Jamar Chase has been starting to practice a little bit, so I expect him to be a full go when Cincinnati takes on the New England Patriots in week number 1. 5, A.J. Brown going up against he's probably going to draw Zaire Alexander, but I see if they're going to move A.J. Brown around to try to isolate him into some matchups there. 6, Chris Olave. 7, Devontae Adams going up against the Chargers. Not a lot of faith in that secondary for the Chargers. 6, Chris Olave. I think that's going up against the Carolina Panthers. Carolina's defense has actually been super underrated, but I think Chris Olave is a pretty safe pick to be in the top 10 when it comes to fantasy. And then an old reliable Mr. Mike Evans, good Tampa Bay, going out there, going up against the Washington Commanders, who don't exactly have a stout secondary, to say the least. At number 9, CeeDee Lamb. I think that Dallas Browns game is going to be pretty low scoring. The Browns defense is really, really good. As you see on Izzy's side, he doesn't even have CeeDee Lamb in his top 10. I couldn't take him any lower than this. I think CeeDee Lamb at number 9 probably makes a lot of sense. And then 10 is Puka Nacua, looking to build on what was a really strong rookie season where he basically set a bunch of records. If at the wide receiver position. So give me your Puka Nacua at number 10. And then my outside looking in, I got Deebo Samuel, who's going to be the Swiss Army knife for the San Francisco 49ers. I think they're going to use him a lot of different ways. Number 2, I got Nico Collins. 3, Garrett Wilson. He was almost a 1,000-yard receiver last season without Aaron Rodgers. I would be interested to see what he looks like with Aaron Rodgers. Garrett Wilson at number 3. And then my sneaky and daily, I got Gabe Davis for the Jacksonville Jaguars, the big free agency acquisition at 4,500. Darnell Mooney, I also have is going to the Atlanta Falcons, going to what is probably going to be a pass-friendly offense. And then finally, I got Trey Tucker, 3,500. He's been like one of those sneaky guys that's been rising in drafting and rankings. So I got him at number 3 at sneaky day at 3,500. He's probably wide receiver 2 there in Las Vegas. And we'll see what the kind of rapport he has with Gardner Minshew moving forward. But Trey Tucker has been an interesting kind of semi-sleeper for the Las Vegas Raiders. A lot of people have taken him early in fantasy football drafts. Or not early, but late as like kind of a flyer guy that maybe he can work out. I would roll the dice with him in the week number 1 in fantasy as well. And then on the other side, I got Jordan Whittington at 4,300 for Sneaky Daily and FanDuel. I got to be straight up honest with you. I had to look this guy up because I did not know what team he was even on. And if you're not sure, he plays on the Los Angeles Rams. He's a 6'1", 204-pound wide receiver. He was just drafted in this most recent draft. Izzy thinks he might have a breakout game. Jordan Whittington at 4,300 and FanDuel is like stupid cheap. So, I mean, if you can roll the dice and you hit on that guy, I mean, kudos to you. And then to the tight end position, I got Sam Laporta at number 1 going up against the Los Angeles Rams. 2, Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews. I got back-to-back in the same game. Travis Kelce still wide receiver 1 for the Kansas City Chiefs, and Mark Andrews still wide receiver 1 for the Baltimore Ravens. 4, Dalton Kincaid. Man, I keep doing that. Dalton Kincaid, not Connect. He plays for the Los Angeles Lakers. Dalton Dalton Kincaid. He is going to be wide receiver 1 for the Buffalo Bills as well. I know they got Curtis Samuel. I know they brought in Coleman as well, but Dalton Kincaid should have a fantastic season this year, and I think it starts in week number 1. 5, Evan Ingram was a monster when it comes to catches. If he can get in the end zone every once in a while this season, he's going to be a top 5 tight end for sure. Evan Ingram, which could be a good, really high-scoring game between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Miami Dolphins. 6, Trey McBride of the Arizona Cardinals. No Matt Milano for the Buffalo Bills in that linebacking core. Look for Trey McBride to have a pretty good season opener against the Buffalo Bills. And again, they may be trailing, so it might be a lot of garbage time, but that still counts in fantasy. We don't seem to care. 7, George Kittle. A little bit lower on George Kittle, but I do think that he's going to have to block a little bit given the situation with the New York Jets. I think that pass rush is for real. So look for him to have to block maybe a little bit more than people will anticipate. 8, David Njoku was awesome last season, kind of looking to build on that momentum going up against the Dallas Cowboys. 9, Kyle Pitts. Yeah, me and Izzy are like the same wave, like when it comes to a lot of the guys on our rankings this week. But I got to see Kyle Pitts like really got to play well before I'm willing to put him any higher than 9. Because last season I had him in my top 10 for majority of the season. Majority of the season got burnt because Kyle Pitts was not good last year. And then Bobby Schultz's cousin, Dalton Schultz, and rounded out my top 10 as a member of the Houston Texans. He got paid. He got that contract. So look for him to have a good beginning of the season against the Indianapolis Colts. And then my outside looking in, Brock Bowers, Las Vegas. I think he's probably going to be – I'll be interested to see what his usage is like in week 1, especially with Michael Mayer there as well. I think if you have a better option at tight end, I wouldn't roll the dice with Brock Bowers in week 1. But I imagine where you took Brock Bowers, he's probably the only tight end you have on your roster. So you kind of have to start him. But I would be worried because I think there's, Devontae Adams. I talked about Trey Tucker in the last segment. I think there's still Michael Mayer who, didn't really do much on his rookie season. We'll try to build on whatever that was. And then Dallas Goedert, just kind of one of those steady hands at tight end, going up against the Green Bay Packers. And then Jake Ferguson, a little bit lower on him than Izzy is on the other side. But I think that Cleveland Brown defense is just going to be big time. And I think Dak Prescott is going to look for this check down to Jake Ferguson kind of a lot. And I think he could have sneaky top 10 value when this all said and done this week for sure for Jake Ferguson. And then my sneaky and daily, got Zach Ertz at 3,600. As the member of the Washington Commanders, should be tight end 1 for this team. Probably pass catcher number 2 when it comes to the passing unit for the Washington Commanders. I mean, they just traded away Dotson. All you have really there is scary Terry McLaurin. So Zach Ertz should have a pretty solid open to the season at 3,600. That's pretty good value. And then Kyle Granson, 2,900, kind of one of those tight ends on the Indianapolis Colts. I really don't know which one of those guys will be more valuable this season, whether it be a Mo Alley Cox, or it be Kyle Granson. The other guy on their roster is totally escaping me. I'll look that up real quick. Should only take a second. But I think that one of those tight ends will eventually emerge as like a go viable tight end option in fantasy this season. I don't think we can really know until we see them actually play. Oh, that guy's out there. I think that guy might be off their roster now. It's not Drew Ogletree. There was somebody else they had on their team last season. But Mo Alley Cox and Kyle Granson, I think one of those two guys will emerge as a viable fantasy option this season. And I'm going to roll my dice on Kyle Granson. Had some flashes last season. And then Ben Sinnott, the tight end, I think he's on the Houston Texans. But don't quote me on that because I don't remember. He's on the Washington Commanders, so he's the backup to Zach Ertz. Izzy kind of thinks he may take a step forward in week number 1, having him at 4,400. Pretty good value at the tight end position. But I personally would rather have Zach Ertz. If I'm picking a Commander tight end to start in daily, I'd rather have Zach Ertz. And then our defensive rankings, number 1, I got the Dallas Cowboys. Until I see Deshaun Watson play good football for an entire game, I just don't think he's a good quarterback anymore. And I think it's going to be tough sledding for the Cleveland Browns going up against Dallas, at least in week 1. Number 2, the Atlanta Falcons going up against whoever. I'm not sure the quarterbacks. I guess it's going to be Russell Wilson there for these Pittsburgh Steelers. But I expect there to be some growing pains in that offense as that offense looks to grow. Russell Wilson hasn't been good in 2 seasons, so we'll see if he can bounce back. The wide receiving core in there is not all that good. So Atlanta should have a good game there, and they brought in the pieces to for sure be a good defense this season. We'll see if it ends up translating to on the field production. 3 Chicago Bears going up against Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans. I'm not sure if DeAndre Hopkins is going to play in this game, but this offensive line for the Tennessee Titans is not that good. The Bears should be able to get pressure. They have a really good secondary and good linebacking core, so look for them to get some points on the defensive side of the ball. And then the Steelers going up against Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons. This is more on the pass rushing side and the defense. We don't really know what Kirk Cousins looks like as a member of the Atlanta Falcons yet because they haven't played a game together yet. So I think it'll be interesting what this offense looks like. I think the Steelers, like if you're trying to get your offense in rhythm, the Steelers defense is a terrible opponent for week 1. So look for Steelers to have a pretty solid matchup there against the Atlanta Falcons. And then 5, I got the New York Jets going up against the San Francisco 49ers. This Jets defense is awesome. And it was awesome last season. The offense just didn't translate into wins. Hopefully that's not the case this season. And then the Cleveland Browns going up against the Dallas Cowboys. I got them at number on the outside looking in. I got the New Orleans Saints going up against the Carolina Panthers. And then I got the Minnesota Vikings going up against Dan Jones and the New York Football Giants. Look for Dan Jones to turn the ball over. I'm not really crazy about their wide receiver room outside of Malik Neighbors. I'm also not crazy about their running back room outside of Devin Singletary. So I think it'll be interesting to see what Minnesota does on defense as they're replacing Daniel Hunter, but they did bring in Jonathan. I should really look this stuff up before I start the show, but I don't remember his name. Is it Jonathan Gennard? That sounds right. But I will double check just to make sure because I don't want to get that wrong. It is Jonathan Gennard. Yeah, Jonathan Gennard. He comes over from the Houston Texans and is now a member of the Minnesota Vikings. And then my sneaky and daily, I got the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers at 3,300 there in daily. And then if you swing over on Izzy's side to the FanDuel selection, he's got the Houston Texans there at 3,900. But yeah, let us know what you think about our rankings. This has been week number 1 fantasy football rankings. We usually do top score when it comes to fantasy every single week. So before we get up out of here, Izzy thinks it's going to be Josh Allen. I'm going to predict Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god. I think he's going to have the highest fantasy output of any player in fantasy this week. I actually would have taken Josh Allen, but Izzy took mine, and I don't want to double up on Josh Allen. But I do think Josh Allen is going to have a monster week 1 when it comes to fantasy football. So if you can get Josh Allen, you can start Josh Allen. You could start Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god. You definitely should be doing that. But yeah, this has been David Huffman. Let me know what you think about my rankings down in the comments section. I do check that stuff. If you have any fantasy questions, trades, roster shakeup, roster pickups, go ahead and let those down in the comments section. I do read the comments. So I appreciate everyone for their input. But yeah, I'm David Huffman. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. And here at Prime Sports World, we bring the heat. And enjoy week 1 of the National Football League. We'll be back here. Izzy's probably going to run a show on Friday doing college football stuff. But I will not be back on the show until Monday night. So keep an eye out for all that stuff. I'm David Huffman. You all have a good night. Stay safe out there. Peace out.